It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey everybody, what's happening? Happy Juneteenth Day. It is time for the Geno Jones Show. Man, I got a very special show for you today. I'm so excited to bring it to you. The Geno Jones Show, I come to you live Monday through Friday, unless there's, some other things that happen. But on my normal days, 5 days a week, unless it's a holiday or something else, even though today is a federal holiday, I am honored to be able to come to you hosting my own show with my own media company, Geno Media. So anyway, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 if you're in Chicago right now, or maybe down in New Orleans. I think Birmingham, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about Birmingham later. I think they're on Central Time, 5:30. If you're out on the West Coast, out in Los Angeles, up in Portland, Oregon, where my daughter is, my firstborn, Seattle, Washington, or the Bay Area where my guest is, it is 3:30. Tell everybody to please subscribe. So listen, I'm asking for your help again, because you help make this show one of the fastest growing shows here on YouTube, on the YouTube platform. By the way, off the top, let me mention to you that the Geno Jones Show is brought to you by CM, like Mary, CM Transportation LLC. Actually, cmtransportationllc.net online. Check them out, cmtransportationllc.net, or you can give them a call, 843 area code, based here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro area, but they do business nationwide, 843-606-2702, 843 area code 606-2702. Big shout out to their CEO. Once again, we are celebrating Juneteenth Day, Juneteenth week. CM Transportation, one of the top transportation companies in America. If your business needs a transportation company that is dependable, reliable, and on time, call that number or just go to cmtransportationllc.net online. Call, ask for their CEO, Carissa Carter, African-American woman-owned. She is part of the Geno Jones Show family, and they are awesome. Now, let me go back. This is a call to action. Once again, because you help the show, the Geno Jones Show, one of the fastest growing shows here on YouTube. I'm now officially qualified to be a YouTube partner, but I have a new goal, 1,000 new subscribers in 60 days, which will take me to a whole nother level, which will allow me and my company to start getting the YouTube checks, or as the kids say, get that YouTube bag with money in it. So we can empower, because some of the things we're going to be doing in the future, we're going to be launching our own digital platform. We'll still use YouTube, but we'll relaunch genojones.com, where you will get to see live and recorded content 24/7. I'll be able to give other hosts and young people opportunities, and there's some great talented people who have kind of retired or kind of got tired of the corporate media. So I'll be in a position to empower and to employ, to put people on a payroll and to pay them. So I'm really excited about that, growing the company. So spread the word, tell everybody on this Juneteenth Day and Juneteenth holiday. There are a lot of family reunions and cookouts and all kind of concerts for Juneteenth week celebrations, parades. Spread the word, tell everybody to subscribe. Just go to YouTube and type in Geno Jones Show right there. You can copy and paste the link. You can copy, paste it to an email. You can share it. You can tag it on somebody's social media platform. Or if you got a whole bunch of folks, tag everybody, kind of like I do. You can text everybody the link that you copy and paste. And I really appreciate it, because thank you for helping. So I went from like zero, I don't know what's flying around in the air. Some link, must be, is it Teddy? So we have a dog and a cat. So I don't know if this is Teddy or Minx's hair that's flying around in here. Anyway, I digress. I guess that's God saying, okay, you need to vacuum. Get that Swiffer going in the house. So I digress. So once again, I want to thank everybody. 3 years I've been doing this show, went from zero, no subscriber, and one viewer who's watching me now, which is my mother, to now we are at, I think, around 600 subscribers with no big celebrity shout outs, no influences, just hustle. So I want to thank each and every person that has told somebody about the Geno Jones Show, that has copy and pasted the link, that's tagged it, texted it, shared it, whatever you did, word of mouth. I thank you. And from the bottom of my heart, God bless each and every one of you. All right, listen, let me get into the show here. Today, we celebrate Juneteenth Day. Juneteenth week is capped off, even though we'll be celebrating all week until Sunday. But today, June 19th, 1865, the Union soldiers, you had the Civil War, the Union soldiers from the North, the Confederate soldiers in the South, and folks in the South they're still fighting the Civil War in different kind of ways. I talked about that many times. I digress. But on this day, June 19th in 1865, Union soldiers went into the state of Texas, and formally announced to our enslaved ancestors that they had actually been freed legally by then President Abraham Lincoln, who basically did that so he could win the war. So it wasn't like, oh, Abraham Lincoln loved the enslaved ancestors. No, he did it so the Union wouldn't lose the war. All right? And that's a whole nother conversation, another history lesson for another show. So on this day, June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers arrived in Texas and formally announced to our enslaved ancestors that they had actually been freed 2.5 years ago, January 1st, 1863. But goes to show you how trifling, as my grandmother would say, that was her word. She didn't cuss. She said, it's trifling. You are trifling. It goes to show you how trifling those racists whose great-grandchildren are among us today, a cult. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But just think about how lousy that was, that these people, the enslavers, knew that our enslaved ancestors had been freed 2.5 years ago, and it took the Union, the Union soldiers to come down to Texas to formally say, hey, look, the jig is up, damn it. You all are free. And then we had Reconstruction, and then Reconstruction, where we had African Americans who were successful in politics. We had African American senators. We had African American representatives in the U.S. House of Representatives, business owners, community, like the Greenwood District in Tulsa, and so many areas, black thriving areas in all your cities. And then you had the Red Summer, to where the jealous races burned down and bombed cities. And in 1921, of course, we know about the Tulsa Race Massacre. So I digress. So today, the Juneteenth, we celebrate our freedom and our liberation. But freedom is not free. And once you are legally or technically free, you have to fight for your freedoms, because here we are 161 years later. There is a cult, a MAGA cult, that literally has about a 900, nearly 1,000-page plan, booklet, PDF form. You can download it to your computer or tablet and phone right now. So my challenge and my request and ask, my call to action for you today is to Google and read Project 2025 and see what the plans are. Because Project 2025 is a plan to take away every right and freedoms our ancestors and ourselves have fought for the last 405 years, since our first enslaved ancestors came from West Africa to the coast of Virginia in August of 1619. That is what Juneteenth is all about. It is about celebrating our freedoms and to continuing to fight and educate and to empower our community and to protect ourselves from those who literally 161 years later from Juneteenth Day have in writing have a damn near 1,000-page booklet to take away every right, every kind of right you want to think about and name, and take us back from 2024 to like 1824. It's not my opinion, it's a fact. Google Project 2025. Also today, so I want to celebrate, there were really only two men in my life who were my heroes. And one was my grandfather, Conway Jones. If you hear me talk about Conway Jones, and my grandmother, who I was named after, Jean Jones, L. Jean, Amy Jean, Rayford Jones, and Conway Jones, who was born in 1888 in a small rural town in Mississippi, Yazoo City, Mississippi. So just imagine a black man in the 1890s, 1900s. Jim Crow was invented and put into law, codified in law. And a black man in rural Mississippi survived the lynching and murders and somehow made it out of there, Jackson to Memphis, and moved to Chicago in the early 40s, around 93 with my mother, and here I am. But the other man who was my only really true sports hero, even Muhammad Ali became like a hero to me, but my first and true sports hero was a man who joined the ancestors yesterday, a man named Willie Howard Mays. And I can't think of anybody else better to share this conversation with me and to have it. I haven't had him on for a while because he's busy, and he's ironically, out in the Bay Area where this man, Willie Mays, had a great career. Started off in New York, the New York Giants. Then they moved to the West Coast, to San Francisco in I can't remember the exact year, but I know in like the early 60s, San Francisco Giants, I think it's probably right around 60. But anyway, we're going to talk about that with my guest. I'm going to bring him on camera right now. Ladies and gentlemen, you probably recognize his face. He was a star, ESPN, Sports Center, Fox Sports 1, BET, one of the preeminent and legendary anchors, reporters, documentarian, who did an incredible documentary about Hank Aaron. I'm sure we will talk about that because we're going to talk about the Negro League. So I am so honored and grateful that I was able to reach out to this brother, and I'm remiss, and I'm apologizing to you on camera, man, but man, life just kind of does what life does. And between celebrating my mother's 80th birthday and all the planning and the finances that went into that, and right out of that,
understood, brother. Understood. You don't even need to talk no more.
Well, wait.
I love you.
Of that, celebrating my baby girl, Allie Jones, who's one of the official wardrobe consultants of my show, fashion designer, graduating from our alma mater, Eric, Columbia College, Chicago.
Get out. Okay.
Bachelor of Fine Arts in fashion, beautiful. A fashion designer. Senior thesis, had to really put on a fashion show, create her own clothing line with like 10 pieces, and then create and produce. Actually, they had to do 2 fashion shows, which was a day before their graduation. So there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Still looks like he's about 35, 36, maybe 36, 37. Eric
I wish
Clemens.
I felt like it.
Geno,
man,
how are you, man?
I'm well, but you and me, when you my guy and I'm your guy, you don't have to explain nothing. I understand life happens, things happen. But folks, we had an hour-long conversation this morning at about a little after 8 a.m. my time
You know, I didn't think about that till we hung up.
yeah.
I felt so guilty. I was like, oh, shit.
No, I'm up. I'm up at that time. I was indisposed when you called for it. I called you right back, and we spent almost an hour talking about Willie. Now we'll let you know, we may look 35 or whatever, but we're not 35. We're a little older, both old enough to remember the late years Willie Mays playing. We ain't old enough to have seen the catch in 1954. We've seen it on tape, on film.
Yeah, we have.
But,
Yes.
didn't see him at his best. But to talk about a place in Major League Baseball, and I would defy any of you. Go ahead if you want to try. And if you don't have your stuff together, I'm gonna just walk out the room. But I would defy anybody to tell me there's a player any better all around than Willie Howard Mays was, just based on what I've read and his numbers and what he meant to the game.
And let's hit him since you mentioned numbers.
Yeah.
Let me just, even though you should do this because you're the pro, you are the true sports professional. I'm just a huge fan and historian. Career batting average for 24 years. He batted 302, which in baseball, which is a very humbling sport, because here's a sport to where if your failure rate is 70%, your success rate is 30%, you are considered among the great of the greatest.
Yeah.
Which just
very few guys have over a 300 career average.
Yes.
Very few.
Almost 3,300 hits, 3,293 hits, 660 home runs. Now listen, I want to pause here, E, to put this in perspective, because as a matter of fact, I want to pause and really tell a full story about some of these numbers that you and you're even more qualified to do this with me, which is why I wanted you on the show with me. Now, Willie Mays hit 660 home runs, and no disrespect to Hank Aaron, because Hank Aaron is an icon and a legend and one of the greats and pure hitter. Nobody was better. So miss me with the Ted Williams. I don't want to hear it, or the Tris Speak. None of that. As a pure hitter, nobody was better than Hank Aaron, but he hit with power. But I digress. But Willie was that hitter and more. But 660 home runs, 2 years. He came, actually, so he started in the Negro League. And shout out to the Negro League, Eric. So this shirt, Fly Ball. Fly Ball is a company. Shout out to Bruce Gage. He's the other wardrobe consultant and stylist for the show. He's based in Chicago. So Fly Ball is the only apparel company or retailer that is officially licensed by the Negro Leagues. You can go to flyballthestore.com. As a matter of fact, or if you go to the Negro League Hall of Fame in Kansas City, you can they got sweaters and almost like varsity jackets. So this is a Fly Ball shirt.
Great.
That represents officially licensed for the Negro League. Well, Willie Mays in 1948 played for a team called the Birmingham Black Barons. So y'all may have heard of the Birmingham Barons when Jordan tried to play baseball for a year and a half, damn near 2 years, and he realizes damn, hitting this curveball ain't like
hitting the 3-point jump shot.
It's a little different.
No. Right.
And so it even humbled the great Michael Jordan, the game of baseball.
Which is hard to do.
Yes. But baseball did it. Not even golf, but baseball humbled Michael Jordan. He had 660 home runs. Now, Willie Mays came into the major leagues in 1951, was the rookie of the year. Then the next 2 years, he fought in the war. He went into the Korean War was going on. Now, he's a young man, peak of his powers. Came back, played baseball in 1954. Was the Major League Valuable Player. Now, he only won 2, what they call MVPs, Most Valuable Players. But let's put that in context, Eric. Explain to people who votes on like all these awards for not just the baseball players, but all
Mm.
football, basketball, because this is your field,
It's
this is
mo-
your
yeah. It's
domain.
mostly the print journalists of the time, and Jim Crow was around, and
Thank you.
yes, there were black newspapers and all that kind of stuff, but
How many of them
they
had
didn't they
votes for
didn't
the MVP? I wonder, Eric.
zip. Absolutely none. And so now another thing, I believe the 2 years after, Willie consecutively hit 47 and then 52 home
Mm-hmm.
runs in those years he came back. So let's just take that. What is it? That 47 and 52. Am I 90? What is that? 99? Let's just take that
Yep.
99 home
99.
runs and split it down the middle. And let's say he had hit 45 home runs in each of the 2 years he was in the war. And you can say this for Ted Williams too. Teddy Ballgame would have had a lot more stats had he not gone to the war for a couple of years too. But
Right, like you said,
yeah,
99.
but
If you split that in half, that's like 40.
it's
If you say
40,
44, 44,
yeah,
45, either way.
44. So that's 88 more
I mean,
home
no,
runs.
wait, 40. That would be like more like
Well, 47,
47.
48.
I was about to say that. Yes,
Right.
my bad. Yeah, I was
So
correcting my math here. Yes.
that's on average like about 95 or 90 some more home runs. So 660 becomes 740, and
Now, since
now
you're
he's the
there,
all-time leader. Right.
since you're there,
Mm-hmm.
let's fast forward because we'll go back and talk about he won 12 Gold Gloves, but the
Right.
award wasn't even given out
Right.
until 1957.
Right.
So you could make an argument. He came in the league in 51. Hell, that's
Right.
probably at least minimum 4 to 6 Gold Gloves
Right.
he would have won had they even had the
Right.
award. But let's
And
I want to
yeah,
fast
go
forward
ahead.
since you were talking about the home runs.
Mhm.
Explain to everybody how difficult it was. Now remember, the team I think right around 60, somewhere around there, went to San Francisco. You are
Right.
now based in San Francisco, as you all see the beautiful shot of the Golden Gate Bridge. Eric, explain to people how difficult it was to hit home runs in the baseball park that Willie Mays played in his entire career there, Candlestick Park.
Candlestick it probably was at the time the most difficult part for a right-hander to really have tremendous success in. Now, we know Henry Aaron hit 755, but many of those came in Atlanta, and he could hit, but pretty forgiving porch out there in left field. You could reach it. The fence was just tall enough to keep you from catching it if it just went over. And Hank had a few of those, especially later in his career. It's all good. Hank was unbelievable. But Willie, let's not even talk about how many he probably lost just because he hit it in Candlestick. And in fact, he actually altered his swing in the middle of his career.
Oh, really? I didn't
so
know
he
that.
could hit more to right center, which was more forgiving in
Yes.
Candlestick than pulling it to left.
Wow.
So
I
he
didn't
hit
know
a
that.
lot of shots to right center field that went on out of the park because he just got sick and tired of long fly balls and doubles that should have been homers, and it would have been homers
So
anyplace else. But
let me ask
yeah.
you. Let me jump in and ask you on that note, because you talked about Ted Williams, who played. Now we're not turning this into ESPN or Sports Center, but he
right.
played in a ballpark to where to hit a home run, the walls were a lot closer. It was easier. Same with Hank Aaron, or
Right.
we are from Chicago, Wrigley Field. If Willie Mays would have played in his home games in Boston, in Chicago, Wrigley Field, or in Atlanta and Turner Field, just as an educated guess, as a historian and an expert on baseball and all sports, just if you had to pick a number, an educated guess, how many more home runs would Willie have hit?
At least 125.
Yeah. I was saying at least 100. So I was close.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, it's friendly. Now, these are great hitters, and he's one of that pool of guys. I mean, Willie was in great shape. He was a muscular guy. He was fast. He could throw. He was a five-tool player. He could do it all. He probably would have been a great pitcher like Babe Ruth. Well, he probably would have been great at any place you put him because
Well,
his father and
let me
his
throw this in
coaches
there, and I
coach
just
only
learned it.
coach everywhere.
Let me ask you
Mhm.
this: did you know
Mhm.
they said he was a great high school quarterback, which I did not know until
I
last
did
night.
not know that until, reading about him and stuff. And I'm going, wow, well, it certainly is no surprise because most of those guys who cracked the big leagues back then, you found out they were unbelievable athletes. They just kind of settled with baseball for whatever reason. Maybe they enjoyed it more than the other ones. Maybe it was a little more for pace so they can have a nice long career.
Well,
But many of
I
those
think you
guys
got to
didn't even
give the
know.
Negro League credit for that
Oh, yeah.
because they
Yeah.
went around. As a matter of fact, the Negro Leagues, I would say the 30s and 40s, which is why the true reason why Major League Baseball integrated was because
Absolutely.
the Negro League teams, especially the teams like the Homestead Grays and a lot of the great
Hmm.
teams in Birmingham, they were outdrawing and making more money than a lot of the major league teams.
Absolutely.
So that's
And,
the
and it's
real reason
right.
why the game was integrated. Um, and I almost kind of lost my train of thought because there's so many things
Mm.
going on. But I just wanted to point out. I think that was really important when people talk about how the game, why was the game really integrated, and why did they eventually
Right.
let a lot of the great Black American and Afro Latino brothers come
Hmm.
into the league because
Right.
they were not allowed to
Um,
play in the white major leagues. But we're talking about those All-Star games. Babe
right.
Ruth, who y'all can Google, but
Mm.
uh, you do a little digging in his DNA. There's some African blood in there somewhere, y'all. But
Yeah.
I know that'll piss off the MAGA cult, but that's too bad. Go down that rabbit
Right.
hole. But
Right.
Babe, it was known that Babe Ruth he really respected the black All Stars and the Negro Leagues. As a matter of fact, he would organize and help finance these barnstorm. What they would call a
Yeah.
barnstorm. You had the white
Right.
All Stars that played all the black All Stars in Chicago, where we grew up. The old
Mm.
Comiskey Park, where the
Sell
White
it
Sox
out.
used to play. My grandfather went to the games. My grandmother. 56,000 people, standing room only. They would sell out a
Mm.
whole weekend. They would play like a Friday and Saturday and sell out
Right.
both games. Now, Eric helped
Absolutely.
me out this morning. So you actually got a stat. There was like 50 games that the Negro League All-Stars played all the white Babe Ruth and all the great white players. Would you let everybody tell all the viewers out of those 50 games, who won the most games? By how many?
Negro League won 33 of them.
Out of 50.
And that's an official record. That's not something somebody made up or something they scraped together. I mean, it was news, and it was smaller news, as you can imagine. If the Negro League team won, you'd have to look all year to try to find it. Oh, there it is in that little corner. Now, if the white, major league team won, I mean, headlines, major leaguers beat the Negro. I mean, this proves this isn't like when you and I were young in high school and stuff. You remember they used to come to Soldier Field, and the college all stars would play up the Super Bowl champs. It
Mm-hmm.
might be the college all stars against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you're like, okay, whatever. Like that went about the way you'd think it would go, and the NFL guys would let up and put all the fifth and seventh and 12th round draft choices in, and just finish the day without killing anybody. This is not the case. And you and I have talked, and I've talked to a lot of people and even asked some of my white friends, why is there not an asterisk by every major league record before 1947
Say it.
when they didn't even allow some of the best players in the world to compete on that stage? And to tell you another thing about narrative that is
Thank you.
kind of sad.
Say it.
Okay, when they allowed the black people to come into the league, and obviously it killed
The Negro League.
a mostly thriving business that was the Negro League. Why wasn't it the other way around? Why didn't the Negro League incorporate them into the? Because There's not the power base. There's not the structure. There's not the majority of laws and everything else that's on their side. They didn't own stadiums. They didn't own. So they kind of had to. They didn't have much of a choice. And it's not that we necessarily abandoned it or whatever. It was just known that this was the stage to be on if you were going to be considered the best, even though everybody knew they weren't the best. They couldn't be because you're not letting everybody play.
And you talked about the, let me just say this, Eric, because you worked in sports media your whole career. So you noticed in a very intimate way, because you were in, as they say, the belly of the beast.
Right.
We were talking about Willie had only won 2 MVPs. But remember, he came into baseball in 1951, like Eric said. All the Jim Crow laws. Just think about it. Schools weren't desegregated. In the South, we were still seeing our ancestors hanging from trees. So
absolutely.
So the white-owned media, which was the dominant media, like Eric just said, they had the same, the vast majority had the same racist views. So how many, if racism wouldn't have played a part, how many MVPs do you think Willie would have gotten?
No, my goodness. There's no telling.
His godson won 7. And they hated his godson.
He would have had at least. He would have won at least that.
But Barry was so great that because I know one that his teammate Jeff Kemp won one year. That Barry, even Jeff Kemp was like, "Damn, I won. Damn, Barry should have got that."
I mean, he when they moved to San Francisco from New York, San Francisco was a little cool to Willie because they preferred their own so-called homegrown. I don't know how you call Willie McCovey homegrown when he's from Mobile, Alabama, but that's okay. But the more homegrown guys that they were used to, and Willie, listen, from what I read, and I had the pleasure of meeting him once. We had maybe a 10-minute conversation on camera. He was a person who had no problem telling you who he was and being very confident and proud of his prowess on the baseball diamond. Everybody remembers the catch. You and I talked about this earlier. And he said that wasn't even in his top 10. Now think about that for a second. That's not even in his top 10. And I'm like going, what? That wasn't in his top 10. It's one of the most unbelievable catches. But later, as I read more about him today, he learned that just from playing football, being catching the ball out of the backfield and being the superior athlete that he was. He never doubted he was going to make the catch. He said he was thinking all the time, all right, runners on first and second. I need to get the ball back into the infield. It's not like, will I catch this ball? He knew he was going to catch it when he took off for it. And this guy, as we talked about, was a quarterback. The managers would go, Willie, line up the defense. This guy's been killing us. Maybe you can line up. And so Willie would tell everybody where to play.
Yes.
Willie would adjust the outfield and move the left fielder to left center and cheat over to right center and move the right fielder closer to the line and adjust the infield. And I'm like, but he was the quarterback. That's how high his baseball IQ was. Wasn't the fastest dude, but was still a base.
Yeah.
And do the little things. And I read also today, this will get you. He would be coming from second on a base hit, and he would hesitate just a little bit around third to draw the throw home to allow the guy that got the single to go to second. Now, when I got a hit in Little League, I was happy to get a hit. I wasn't thinking about drawing no throw from nobody so my teammate could get someplace. I'm just like, woohoo, I got a hit. But this is who this guy was. And everything I read about him and everything about the persona that I understand, because he did the same thing to me. He just had this way, not being a shucky, jivey, jovial Black person, but just being who he was, embodying this certain confidence and spirit. You couldn't do anything but laugh and smile when you talked to him because he just would bring that out of you. His matter of factness, his, oh man, yeah, I make that throw all the time. Or, yeah, I'm going to go first or third, like, unless it's just right, it trickles out of the infield or something for a single. I'm going first or third.
And I got to just
I got a big enough, Leo, you know.
I got to just jump in and just say this because we talked earlier. And the one person I've had a chance to meet, Michael Jackson, Prince, MC, show with Prince, and all these entertainers. Janet, I'm not even going to name them because it's not about me. But I had a chance to meet Muhammad Ali. But the one person I always wanted to meet, and when I heard that he joined the Ancestors yesterday, it hit me. Was Willie Mays, because Willie, there was. So my connection with Willie Mays is deeper. And I don't want to go. I want to say that part for later because there were so many things that we were talking about. But like you said, go back to that. How many MVPs would he have won? At like least. If he was playing today. First of all, what did they pay the Japanese kid from Japan, Shohei Ohtani? That plays with what he got, $700 million, something like that.
Yeah. Please.
So Willie would have been $1 billion baseball
player. It wouldn't even be close. I mean, the guy was good when he was old.
Yes.
You know, I went back and said, he was getting only 38, 39, but he was still up there, 17 home runs, 70 RBIs. Most guys would take that. If you took any player from any era and he said, I hit 289 with 17 homers and 70 RBIs, somebody would look at that and go, oh, that's a pretty solid player.
And we're talking about, think about it, everybody. So this was 1970. Willie Mays was 39. Eric, you were just talking about this catch that a lot of people they call it the catch in the World Series, the 54 World Series.
Right.
Willie Mays, had his back turned to the camera. All you could see is 24, and he caught the ball. And
then threw it back into the infield.
Yep, and that was the brilliant part because his now they would call it his baseball IQ, his intelligence, understanding the game, the mental part, and just mastering all the nuances of the game. Because when he caught it with his back turned like this, as soon as he caught it, like all in one motion, turned and threw the ball. Now, that was about, they said that center field, that area was like about 511 feet. So the second base, that had to be a good 400 feet. Just, wait, not your feet not really planted, you just kind of pivot.
Yeah.
But being a high school quarterback, explain that, which I didn't know. But we were talking about the catch. Eric and I talked about it. We saw it today. I remember as a little kid, because I was introduced to baseball probably from in the crib, but my earliest recollections have been like I was 6, 7. I remember, but this was in 1970, and we saw this catch that we could make an argument. It wasn't in the World Series, but it may have been an even greater catch.
Absolutely.
39 years old, Willie Mays, and a guy named Barry Bonds. His son.
Bobby.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Bobby Bonds. His son is Barry Bonds. Many say was argued. Now they say he may have been the greatest hitter ever. That's a whole different show. So Willie Mays, 39. Bobby Bonds, young dude, maybe in his mid-20s, in his prime. Willie Mays comes out of nowhere, leaps up over, looking like Jordan or LeBron elevating at 39. Catches the ball. Here's Willie. Bobby Bonds' head is here. Willie is that much over. Out. They both leaped.
Yep.
And Willie did this at 39 years old.
You're supposed to be way over the hill at 39 in Major League Baseball.
And let me let's explain this to him, Eric. So we're talking about 1970, not 2024, to where
Right.
now people have spent, well, LeBron spends, what, over $1 million on his body, fitness,
Personal
training,
trainers,
hyperbaric
diet.
chamber, diet, nutrition, blood work, you name it. Willie didn't have none of that. And at 39 was still at 39 was doing what he did.
Yep. He
So
was
how many
better than average
MVPs
player.
do you think, if he was playing in this, had that kind of career, how many MVPs, if they'd have took out the racism and Jim Crow, would Willie have won?
Oh my God. And, at least the number of his godson,
Yeah,
at least
easy.
7 or 8. I mean, he was generally the best all-around ball player there is. I mean, people talk about guys like Mike Trout today, or Shohei Ohtani, or people like that. And he was consistently that over 15 years, 17 years, I mean, he did that from the time he got in till,
You can make an
a few
argument for
years
20
before
years.
he left.
And share this with the audience, Eric. He played like every game, because initially when he came in, they played 151 games and 162. He played every game.
Played every game for
Night
15
game,
solid
then the
years.
next morning, they would have a night game, then a day game in the afternoon. People don't even do that.
Right.
Oh, you can't. If he played it the night game, you sit him out. Don't make him play the next day. Willie did that for his whole career.
Right. I was reading today that that was in jeopardy in one of the games. I can't remember which year it was, but he and Willie McCovey and some other guys had ordered some ribs the night before for dinner. But these weren't good ribs, so Willie had a little food poisoning, and
that was the World Series in ¡54.
Yeah, and he told them, "Don't play
he
me."
made that catch that you talked about.
Yeah, and he went in and just dusted, the team, because he scratched out the other guy who was in center field, and then put his own name in and went and played. And that's what the great ones do. He was talking about Jordan playing sick and other people playing where most of us wouldn't even be able to stand up. Not only do they go play, but they play outstanding. And of course, shot heard around the world. Bobby Thompson, well, who was in the on-deck circle. So Bobby Thompson can thank Willie Mays, because he got a fat pitch to hit, because they didn't want to think about pitching to Willie Mays. And it's just a testament to how great. I mean, obviously, if not for the obvious, I know I used that word twice, that Major League Baseball could see all of this untapped talent that racism had kept out of this stage, and they're watching Willie Mays wreck, the Negro National League and all this kind of stuff. And there's a fella that's still tooling around named Satchel Paige, who's, if you thought Willie played when he was old, Satchel pitched a game at 59 and worked 3 scoreless innings for the Philadelphia Athletics. 59. Wow. They think.
So Eric, I'm glad you talked about Satchel, because I'm going to come back. I want to talk about something that the media did. It was always a pet peeve. But talking about Satchel, there was always this urban myth and legend about people that nobody really knew how old Satchel Paige was. But I know you did your homework. 59.
Yeah, I think he was born in 1904. I'm not certain.
Wow.
But everything. But anyway, there's a story about Satchel and Willie. And I think they're doing some kind of exhibition or some kind of spring training game or something, and pitches to young Willie, and bam, Willie doubles off of him or whatever. And they said Satchel looks around and says, "Who is that young fella?" And they say, "Oh, that's that hot shot. That's Willie Mays. Yeah, he headed somewhere. He a star." And they said, well, he looked at Willie and pointed at him. He said, "Well, young man, that's it. And that's all he said. Turned around and pitched to the next batter. And I said,
Wow.
what does he mean? Now, this is Willie with that high voice. What does he mean? That's it. What are you talking about? What do you mean? I'm going to come up and hit against him again. And he came up 3 more times. He said, this the young man that got that double off me? Yeah. Willie himself is quoted as going, whoosh, 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 sit down. Next time, whoosh, 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 sit down. Next time, whoosh, 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 sit down. Now, who could humble Willie Mays like that? Except arguably the greatest pitcher of all time that we'll never know the stats and never know the records because racism kept him from showing that off on the major stage to everybody when he was young and in his prime. Satchel Paige.
So, Eric, I never heard this story. So Willie was in the Negro Leagues?
It might have been. I'm not sure because
Well, they couldn't have played in the major. We know they didn't play.
Right.
He didn't pitch against them in the major.
So I believe it must have been a Negro League thing where Willie was the young phenom and Satchel was pitching for somebody. It's been a few years since I did it, but I can't remember the circumstances. But I know he faced Willie.
Wow.
And told him, you're not going to get on base no more.
He said, that's it.
And he did.
Tell everybody who maybe came in late how young Willie was and what he was doing when he started playing professional baseball in the Negro Leagues.
It kind of reminds you of Junior Griffey. You see a guy that just has it. And even at 16, this kid's in high school and is playing for the Negro League team on the weekends. Then when they get out for summer, he can join the team and travel on. Can you imagine having this teenage kid with you, like you going up trying to pick up the girls and whatnot, and here's this kid sitting next to you like, oh man, we can't, man, get out of here. Go someplace else. I'm trying to hit on Susie over here, and you sitting up here next to me in the bar having a milk. I can imagine. I would have loved to ask him about stories like that. But for a guy that we didn't even see in his prime except on film, the impact that he had, the legacy that he had, nobody except some white media disrespected Willie Mays. And I remember hearing just as a kid, and there's Willie with the basket catch. Kids, don't catch it like that. What do you mean don't catch it like that? It was naturally the easiest way to do it. Rick Barry, not black, by the way, shot the underhand free throw. Our arms naturally do this. They don't naturally do this.
No.
They naturally do this. Well, Rick Barry was a 90-some% career free throw shooter. Do I need to say anything else? But yet nobody shoots free throws the underhanded way because it doesn't look cool enough. Nobody does the sky hook. Come on now. The sky hook? I would have paid Kareem $1 million to teach me the sky hook if I was a big dude. Said, teach me this shot. I ain't leaving you. Now here's $1 million. Teach it to me. I'm not leaving till I got it. I don't want to do you a disservice by throwing some crap up here. But for some reason, nobody does it. Nobody does and nobody does the basket catch. Then I know are very few. Every now and then, maybe a Latin player might come out. But it's really the best way to catch the ball. But because we watched games on TV and heard the other media saying, I don't know, you might want to catch it the way the coaches teach you. Well, isn't it easier to catch the ball as like a basket in your glove? And if it comes out, you can still catch it rather than having your glove up here?
On that note, then I want you, I really want to dive in on this media because that's a big pet peeve. He played football, even though he was a quarterback, but I was a receiver. How do you, when you play football, how do you catch the football?
Yeah, when it's over your shoulder and stuff, you catch like
the only time you do this if it's like going over your head. Right. But if you're like on a like a bomb, a deep a pass route, you catch the ball like that.
Right. Yeah.
So like you said, it's natural. You can see the ball, literally see it into your hands.
And so it was kind of intimated. Nobody ever said it. See, Muhammad Ali, his mouth was, I'm the greatest. I'm the best of all time. Nobody doesn't, he was an easy target. Willie didn't talk like that. Willie let his play do the talking. But everybody would, the way it was intimated to me, even as a little black kid, was like, well, he catching the ball. I ain't never seen him drop the ball. So why are you complaining about the way he catches the ball? That was my kind of rebellious kind of deal.
I'm
But
with
it
you.
was
I'm with
intimate.
you.
It was intimated that he was some kind of show off or
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, everything I've read, even my brief meeting with him when we interviewed him. I'm a young man in Mobile, Alabama, starting my career, and some of the Alabama boys came down for something, and I met Willie Mays, and I joked, Willie, you're gonna have to turn and face the sun, man, because people your complexion, you know, they don't show up if you're not in the sun. And Mr. Mays, rest his soul, he grabs my arm. He says, "Boy, you're dark as I am. You're twice as dark as me. What you talking about?" I said, Willie, you know, I didn't make the rules, man. I didn't make the camera, you know. And we laughed. And I said, wow, I'm with this baseball royalty. And here I am joking with him like we'd have known each other for 10 years. And I never met him again. I never even saw him in person again, only, you know, on TV and stuff.
You just
But
said something. You
yeah,
said you said something about 60 seconds ago, and
yeah.
I want you to repeat it. And when you do, I'll explain to you why I want to really emphasize what you said.
Okay.
Because I guess he said it to you. I think you said something to the effect. He said that he let his play speak for him. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Last night, I'm watching Ken Griffey Jr. on the Major League Baseball Network. I don't know if you saw it. Ken Griffey met Willie when he was 17. Willie Mays.
Wow.
Willie, you know, talked to him a lot, but he said, because I guess they kind of got to talking about, you know, Willie went through a lot, but the bottom line is he said, Willie told me verbatim what you said. He said, he told me,
let your play do the talking.
Let your play speak for you. Let your play do the talking. That's exactly what Ken Griffey said last night.
Right. And there's a guy that did it. I mean, the guy wasn't shy, wasn't afraid to talk. I just read in an obituary, he had a lifetime contract to come back and be with the Giants, consultant, make appearance. And he actually came and asked for an extension. And the guy goes, Willie, you do know what lifetime means, right? Now, I just want an extension. He wanted to make sure his wife would be taken care of if anything ever happened to him.
Wow.
And that tells you the quality of the man. And I got a little taste of that quality just in a 10-minute meeting. And man, you know, when they leave us and join the ancestral realm, you just wish you could have some moments back to because I didn't even then appreciate him as I do now, as we're getting a little long into it. I know, you know, you look like you're about 31, 32, and I know I look like I'm about 34.
That's why I got to add this brother. The brother's good for my ego. I swear to God, I get younger and younger.
Because we really aren't. but man, to have been in the company of Mickey Mantle, Ernie Banks, you know, Willie McCovey, Billy Williams, who's still with us, people from that area, from the South, and to see all the talent. We talked about this. And for those that might have friends that poo-poo this inclusion of the Negro League statistics that they could round up.
Come on, speak on it.
That would make it official and say somehow this is some kind of racial entitlement. And,
DEI, affirmative action, CRT.
And my side to that is, so what? You've taken enough. It's about time you gave something. But this isn't the case. Major League Baseball in 1969 had the same kind of committee, and they included stats from Federal League and a United something and another league that, of course, were all white. But they included their stats in Major League records and did not even consider, didn't even look at Negro League stats or whatever to be included. Could have been done 60 years ago.
That's 55. 1969.
Yeah,
That's 55 years
right.
ago.
55 years ago.
Nearly, like you said, nearly 60. Wow.
And so and I saw a guy on and he talked about, if you think this is some kind of gift, understand the people that touched the Negro Leagues later, just as integration is a Don Newcomb, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks, Roy Campanella. That's baseball royalty right there.
Right, and you didn't even mention Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige, as an old over-the-hill guy, still a Hall of Famer. That lets you know something right there. And at 59, show me a 59-year-old that worked 3 scoreless innings, whether it's a spring training game or whether against major league talent. 3 scoreless innings.
I think
59 years old.
What was Jordan's last year? Was it 39? Was he 39?
39, 40, something like that. He might have been 40.
Still going strong. Brady played
still going strong.
45.
Yeah.
None of them played to 59.
George Blanda.
Right.
No, none of them came close to 59. I mean, that's unbelievable when you really think about it.
That would be like
unbelievable.
That would be like me and you out there still playing. Major
Come
league.
on, man. Come on. You know, there's a, you know, I've been trying to get them to talk about it, but I've never have. Do you notice? No old dudes, especially NBA, you'll never see them playing basketball no more. I think they have some secret pact that they go, once we get over a certain age, nope, not going to do it, not going to ruin the integrity of the game, nor my legacy by letting somebody see me try to play as an old man, which is the irony of the Kyrie Irving commercials where he dresses up like the old guy and dusts everybody.
Right. Uncle, what was it? Uncle, I can't think of the character.
Uncle, golly, I can't. I see him.
Yeah, he's Uncle somebody.
Whatever. But
so,
yeah.
Listen, Eric, I want you to, because you are the profound expert to speak on this.
Mm.
And I used to get so angry. So I've had this argument for probably 6 decades.
Yep.
Going on 6 decades. I remember seeing Bob Costas, who I saw on TV. And I used to get so angry. I would hear him say this, and literally, I wanted to fight the dude. If I could have saw Bob Costas in person, I'd have beat his ass. I'm just being honest with you. Or Babe Ruth, the greatest player, and you know they would mention Willie, but it was always they had to quantify it. Yeah, but blah blah blah. But you know Babe Ruth, and he was the pitcher, and blah 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 blah. Now here it is. Last night. A lot of these same dudes, you know, and a lot of the old ones are still not around. How many years did I hear, like during the All-Star game, the greatest living player, Stan Musial, the greatest living player, Ted Williams, the greatest, everybody was the greatest living player, but the greatest player ever, when y'all talk about the GOAT acronym, greatest of all time, GOAT, was alive, and none of the corporate white media, none of them, Bob Costas, none of them,
Nope.
Mike and Magdal, none of them trick asses gave Willie his respect and props. And the man had to die for some of them bastards to finally give up the ghost and be like, and shout out to the dude on Major League Baseball. I think Brian Kenny. Did you work with Brian Kenny?
I did not. Left just before he got there.
I saw him last night.
Yeah.
And he was like, look, unquestioned, the greatest player all around. It's not even a debate. And then he pulled up some metrics, you know, because now metrics are numbers.
It's all the metrics, which I still don't understand half of them.
He pulled up the analytics on their ass. Willie dominated. He pulled up something. They got their extra base percentage rate. I guess that means how many times a player takes an extra base. I think Ricky Henderson, who some would say was the greatest base stealer, but people are telling me that Willie Mays was the greatest base runner. Ricky Henderson his like taking the extra base rate. That means, like you said, instead of if you hit what would normally be a double, it was a triple. If you got like just a single, you would stretch it into a double. He had the highest taking the extra base rate of any player. His was like 63%. I think the next highest was, and I was surprised, a guy named Burt Campaneris, who you and I saw that played for Oakland. He was like at 59, but Ricky Henderson was like 55. Willie, nobody was in the 60s. Willie was 63%.
Yeah. I mean, you said it all. I mean,
So
that's the kind of stuff he did.
You weren't, kind of when ESPN really took off early 90s, but you worked with guys. What was it like to hear this? Because I couldn't, they'd have fired my ass because I just couldn't deal with it. So just speak to that, what it was like being on the inside and just the mentality and how, for whatever reason, they would, it was always romanticized Babe Ruth. And there's no shade to Babe Ruth or Lou Gehrig, but, not giving Willie Mays, and not to mention Satchel Paige or the Josh Gibson and Cool Papa Bell, but you are a historian, man. Please speak to that.
I've simply had to let it roll off. I mean, it was almost useless to sit up and fight it. I would say, well, why don't they have asterisks next to Major League's name? I mean, these guys didn't play against the best. They didn't play against the best. So if you didn't play against the best, you can't have NBA records and call an NBA dude the greatest of all time when Julius Erving and others are playing in the ABA. You just can't. You can see them play.
What did you, Eric? What did they say to you when you would make those statements and ask that question?
They didn't say much. It would just kind of blow me off. Like,
wow.
I really didn't know what I was talking about. Now, I wasn't some big time rally, advocate about it, because sometimes you get so inundated with it that, okay, yeah, Babe Ruth's the greatest ever. I never truly believed that. I didn't believe he wasn't. I just didn't believe that was a quantifiable statement because he didn't play against the best ever every day. That's all I'm saying. I'm sure Babe Ruth was an unbelievable ball player. He won 20 games as a pitcher. He's able to hit 700 home runs when nobody else was really hitting them. I mean, obviously, great ball player.
Right. But Josh Gibson was hitting them.
Right.
There's a number. Josh Gibson may have hit 800 home runs. You probably know better than me.
And he certainly wasn't hitting against the pitchers that were out there in the Negro leagues. It's just if you bar certain people from competing, how can you say I'm the best and you don't even let me compete against you? Because, come on, we've seen the results all the time of allowing the segregated Black colleges, Coach Rob and many others, Prairie View and all that, predominantly white schools didn't want to play them.
As a matter of fact,
because they would lose.
Since you mentioned that, and I love this story, and I know you know it even better than I do. So now, University of Alabama, all these Black players and their former coach, Nick Saban, they say, the greatest college football coach. Well, before then, they had what people were saying the greatest college football coach ever, dude named Paul Bear Bryant.
Paul Bear Bryant, yep.
And was 60, I don't know if it was 60, was it 67, 68? Anyway, Alabama played USC. Probably mid 60s somewhere. And USC, University of Southern California, who had Black football players, beat the brakes of the University of Alabama, who didn't have any Black players. And you could probably quote the legendary quote. I'm just paraphrasing it. Supposedly, Bear Bryant, who they said actually wanted Black players, but God, Tuscaloosa, those small rural Alabama in the 60s, the heartbeat of racism and Jim Crow. They
Right.
wouldn't let them recruit black players.
Right.
But after
Right.
after University of Alabama got the brakes beat off their heads by USC, University of Southern California, Bear Bryant, I guess, went back to all those Jim Crow
Mhm.
leaders and said, I need to get some of them.
Right. I mean, it's obvious that these people are talented and in many ways were more complete in their approach and how they played the game than many of the players who were on the major stage playing it. And you're right. If they were allowed to compete, there's a lot of major league ball players who had 8, 10, 12-year major league careers who wouldn't have had them because their job would have been taken by a superior player from the other league. And that's good old American competition, right? But I guess we'll never know. So the best thing they could do, the next best thing they can do, is try to make amends for what was taken from them, to include them in all the records and everything. I just wish, there wouldn't have been such shabby records at some point kept, in those games. But I mean, there's so many shows you could do based off this. Our own feeling about our self-worth, past, present, future.
Yeah.
It plays into all of that. But thank God Almighty that these guys finally get to do 2,300 guys get their just due for the hard work. And I mean, you're looking at your family, you're probably the best. You're looking at these major league second basemen and going, I'm better than all of them. What would I be making? But I can't make it because they won't let me. So I don't live in a nice house on a farm. I can't give my son a job because I own a business. I can't. All because of racial superiority, one group to another.
Just hate.
And they control everything, the narrative of everything. And I'm just saying, consider the narrative. Let the record, let the play speak for itself.
And explain
Find me a
to people,
player.
Eric, when you say, because I use this word narrative, but for the brothers in the barbershop and the sisters in the hair salons, when we talk about a narrative, explain to them what exactly that means, what you mean.
Well, the narrative of a lion will never be heard because it's always the narrative of the hunter who killed the lion that you hear. If lions could talk, though, how different would the narrative be? Like, I chased that motherfucker all the way through the thing. And when I caught him, I toyed with him a little bit. And then I finally put him out of his misery. And my cubs and my family ate him when we drug him back to. I mean, so it's who has the power that controls and tells the narrative. Again, I'm a 9, 10-year-old kid. I don't know if Willie Mays is catching right, but all I know is the boy is catching everything hit his way. And it's not said, oh, he shouldn't catch like that. It's just the tone of voice. Willie makes the basket catch. Kids, I don't know if you want to try that approach. Why not? He caught it. What are you talking about? And every time I tried it, I never dropped it. I always caught it, especially if I watched it in my hands. But, I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to be the rabble rouser and the rebel that caught the ball like Willie Mays, although if I had it to do again, I had patterned my play after Willie Mays. Maybe I would have been something. I doubt it.
Well, it's funny that you say that, E, because I did that, and I got chewed out. I even got kicked off like a
wow.
Team. That's a whole.
Why am I not
that's
surprised?
A different story. The show's not about me, but I do want to share a personal story. But listen, I want to thank you, man. I love you. We DNA don't make you family, and DNA don't make you brothers. Me and this man have been true. The only thing we don't have in common is that we didn't come out of the same womb. But otherwise, we've got the same kind of bond that we would have if we would have came out of the same womb. So I thank you, man. And there's nobody that I know that's more qualified to have this conversation. I want you, I got a nephew that's a pretty good baseball player. Actually, I think he's going to be playing, he's going to a junior college, and then he'll be looking to go to a bigger school. But for a lot of the young brothers and sisters, because one thing about the Negro Leagues, you had black women owners, and
Right.
the woman, the person who replaced, I think Willie Mays
Mm-hmm.
or Hank,
Mm-hmm.
it was a woman.
Wow.
I think her name was
I
Tony.
see.
She played second. She wound up playing second base.
Well, see, you got one up on me there, Mr. Historian, because that one I did not know. But
I
there's
think there were
so
three.
many
They were,
stories.
and
Yeah.
I apologize to the family of these women, or these women if they're
Yeah.
still alive, because the focus was Willie. But I
Right.
recall, and Bruce Gage, who was the Negro League historian, there were 3
Mm-hmm.
black women who actually played in the Negro League, and
Hey.
there was I think at least 3 women owners
Yep.
who were on Negro League teams. But
And
what would
inclusion, dude, is great for business.
What
You
would
know,
you-
it's just the best way to do business. Go ahead. I'm
if
sorry.
somebody, I was just going to say, because I've taken up so much of your time, just, for anybody, but especially because it's up to us to make sure that we share these stories,
Mm-hmm.
narrative, because a narrative is a story, guys.
Right.
And it is important. That's why black media ownership, that's why I am so committed to building this media company. And thank God I have people, who are legendary, as far as I'm concerned, Hall of Famers in this industry, to come on and help me build my media company, because nobody is going to tell your story better than you. And
Nope.
nobody's going to really tell it right
Nope.
like you. But especially the younger generations and young men, young brothers like my nephew, because when Willie played, think about it. The NFL was segregated, the NBA was segregated. The game that was really the most popular in America was baseball, because at least black kids got to see Satchel Pages and Willie Mays and Cool Papa Bells and all these guys, Josh Gibson's, Oscar Charlton, who people say was Willie Mays before Willie Mays in the Negro League. They got to see these guys play when they came around to the cities, or if they played in the city and they had the All-Star games. What would you, so to that point, think about it. All the best athletes, to the point you mentioned, were playing baseball. Baseball got the best of the best athletes, because no other league, there wasn't a Negro National Football League, or Negro American Football League, or a Negro Basketball Association, even though that's what we were trying to say about in the 70s. But
Yes.
they weren't saying Negro, they was using the other N-word.
Right. Yeah.
But so what would you, if there was just some words of wisdom, or just anything related to what Willie Mays represented, is just seeing black excellence and greatness. You are very eloquent with words, spoken and written. What would you share to those young brothers and sisters watching?
I know this isn't an era of reading, but get some words from historians and understand the path that's been traveled before you, and understand as best you can how they put up with much more difficult circumstances than you'll likely ever have to put up with. And understanding who went before you certainly helps you operate in the present and in the now. And let your play and your performance do your talking for you. And everything else takes care of itself. And don't forget, I mean, this is a Willie Mays that used to play stickball in Harlem with the kids.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Eric. Thank you. Share that story in full, man.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Every time he was in the area, sometimes on a game day, Willie freaking Mays. Can you imagine being on the south side of Chicago or wherever you're from, and freaking Bo Jackson or Michael Jordan comes out in the street?
There
This
you
is
go.
Michael Jordan, and he's hitting the ball with you?
Or Michael
Are
Jordan,
you kidding?
comes,
Right.
Ogden Park, or I forgot the park that was close. What park was close to where you grew up?
Hamilton Park.
Hamilton Park. And Michael Jordan is literally coming out there, to Hamilton Park or Ogden Park or wherever.
Right.
And playing basketball with the kids in the neighborhood.
Right.
And then take them in the day, then take them to buy ice cream after you played basketball for about an hour or so, and
Right.
then go play with the Bulls that night.
Right. And that night. That was Willie Mays. That's the kind of, I know it's a different world, but I would hope that some of us could get back to that kind of community and that kind of involvement, that kind of commitment that just goes beyond building your own brand, but leaving a mark and a legacy that goes beyond your sport, or beyond that thing, that you're just a human being who's taken a platform and reaching people with it. And if you become that big a star, I hope you don't become one of these exclusive people. Nobody ever sees you except for you with some other woman other than your wife and all that stuff, and you beating women up and you're doing all that. No, look at the example these guys set and follow it. And when they get through talking about you, you'll be a legacy too. When your days are done, you'll be somebody they look up to and go, yeah, I remember he bought me an ice cream cone. Nobody can take that away. You and I both remember every major leaguer or pro athlete who wasn't very nice to us. We remember. And what does it do to you? I don't want to see him again. Great as Johnny Bench was, he blew me off for an autograph. I was the last one in line and the only black one, and he didn't sign my autograph.
Really? Wow.
Up till that point, I loved Johnny Bench.
Me too.
Johnny Bench was the man.
Wow.
When he didn't sign my autograph, I was like, ain't that something? I'm the last one. The last one in line. I got my baseball. He wouldn't sign it. I'm like, I'll be damned. And it tainted me on Johnny Bench. Now, he might be a nice guy. I don't know. I didn't care to know. All I knew is when I was a kid and as big a fan as any one of those kids that was in line before me, you didn't sign my ball.
Well, listen,
now,
YouTube, my YouTube family, everybody else on all my other platforms, Instagram and TikTok and X or Twitter and Facebook, y'all screen grab this, send it to Johnny Bench. Somebody put it on a phone, show this to Johnny Bench, and Johnny Bench owes Eric Clemens an apology.
Yeah, man, I never forgot that. That was huge to me. I'm like, man, I'm about to get an autograph from Johnny Bench, and then I got up to him and he was like, and there was nobody else.
It's funny you said that. I never met him, but so my grandfather, he loved baseball. Now he was a fan of the Reds. He liked that big red machine team in the early 70s. Tony Perez, Joe Morgan, Ken Griffey Sr., Ken Griffey Jr.'s dad was like the young guy.
Yeah.
Bobby Tolan. All those dudes. I remember Dave Concepcion. See, I can remember Lee May. I remember all them dudes, man.
Yeah.
Played first base. But I just want to close by this, Eric. And I know we talked about it earlier. Out of the greatness of Willie Mays, my true sports hero, who my mother, who's watching, has a picture in one of her photo albums. I may have been 7. I don't know. I was 8. I could have been as young as 6. I'll never forget. She has a picture, and I was just standing outside, and I guess my grandfather bought me a San Francisco Giant cap because he was the baseball fan. He lived and witnessed the history. He went to the Negro League games. He was, like I said, he was born in 1888. So he was a young man when the Negro League started in 1920 and was still there in 1948 when basically it disbanded because all the talent was going to the major leagues.
Right.
So, and I was in all false humble modesty, I'll pull a Willie Mays. I wasn't just a good baseball player. I was a great player. I had an opportunity. People were trying to pitch me to go to Southern California, play baseball. My grandfather's, his best friend, a guy named Mr. Washington, who would get out in the neighborhood, Eric, and we would play catch or like pepper ball. He would just throw the ball, real hard to us because we would, to help us, just like they would call them drills now,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of throw the ball around. He would literally come out in that vacant lot with us. Him and my grandfather used to go to baseball games together. Mr. Washington played in the Negro Leagues, and I think was a scout. I don't know if I overheard him talking to my grandfather. I don't know if it was the Phillies. He had some affiliation with a major league team, was trying to pitch me to the major leagues. But more than that, my grandfather who raised me, my grandparents, y'all hear me talk about Gene Jones and Conway Jones, raised me along with my mom. My mom was a young mom. So I lived with my grandparents all my life. Even my mother got remarried and moved. My grandparents said, no, Jeannie's staying here because, they saw something where a guy was thumping me in the head, and they was like, no, Jeannie's not leaving, because we caught him, hitting Jeannie, and something happened to him. My grandfather, who was the most congenial man, spoke to every person he ever saw when we walked down the street, downtown Chicago, anywhere in Chicago. We walked outside. If he walked by you, he spoke to you. Every time.
Right.
All his life, anytime I was with him and we walked by somebody, my grandfather would say, hello, how you doing? If it was a woman, if he had a hat on, how you doing, man? Every time.
Wow.
Every time. So this is so personal to me because every time I would see Willie Mays, and when I lost my grandfather in the 80s, who had the biggest influence, still to this day, there's no man that's had a bigger influence. There's no person that I've ever met, seen, or heard talk who was wiser than a man who dropped out of third grade, quit school in rural Yazoo City, Mississippi, so he could get a job to help his mother take care of him and his two younger brothers. Willie Mays was the connection to my grandfather because my grandfather introduced me to the game. My grandfather would take me and the whole damn neighborhood. He would get on the old Inglewood line and ride all the way from 63rd and Ashland to Addison to stop for Wrigley Field. One time we must all the kids that played. He was on a train, Eric, with like 15 little black boys. And he was probably in his 80s then, early 80s, doing this stuff. So just losing Willie Mays is just so personal. But I'm so honored that my grandfather, who really understood and knew baseball and watched it and lived through it, introduced me. And he loved Hank Aaron. He was a big Ernie Banks and Billy Williams fan. But Willie Mays, that was the reason when I was 6 or 7 or 8 and I had that San Francisco Giant, that black cap with the orange SF, which is why I'm wearing this black fly ball sweater and this orange blazer, orange suit, was to honor Willie Mays. And all my career, no matter what team I played on, I only wore one number, and that was number 24, and I only played one position, and it was center field. All my life, all my career. So I really wanted to do this tribute. Rest in heaven, Willie. You get to meet my grandfather. You'll love him. He was a big fan of yours. So I know y'all will talk baseball, and I would pay. They couldn't print enough money for me to be able just to hear, to see, to see that conversation between the two of them. So, Eric, thank you, man. I love you, brother. I don't know if you got any last words or final thoughts, man. Feel free to share them. If not,
I mean,
it's all yours, man.
I mean, legacy is the key, and the guy played with dignity, played with swag, as you talked about earlier, before we knew what that term meant. He played the game with integrity and intelligence, like nobody else I've ever heard of. I didn't really see except on film because I'm not old enough. But nobody else I ever heard of played the game quite the way that Willie Mays played it. Speaks for itself. Find me a better ball player, and maybe you can make an argument. But from what I've read and what I've seen and what I've heard people talk about and the kind of things that he accomplished on the field and off, none better. And rest in peace, Brother Willie.
And for anyone that's watching, especially my young baseball fans, and now I see to where it seems like the Major League is trying to make an effort to attract some of the best black athletes, black American athletes. That's a whole nother show. Because this is Willie's day, so I'll get in Major League Baseball's ass on another day, like you and I have done it before.
Right.
Everybody on YouTube, you can YouTube search Willie Mays videos.
Yes.
It's a lot of them out there. You see every catch, the B catch in 54 when he had his back turned and turned around, threw the ball probably damn near 400 feet. When he was 39 years old and damn near was leaped a foot higher than the dude that was 15 years younger than him in Bobby Bonds, and just all the incredible stuff. The greatest base runner, bottom line, the greatest baseball player, full stop, period. It's not an opinion, it's a fact. And like Eric said, or as Shaq said, Google him and search him on YouTube. Google Willie Mays video, and you get to see for yourself. Eric, thank you, man. Say hello to your queen and the grandbabies and everybody out there in the Bay Area. How you like it out there?
I'm enjoying it. I enjoy the sunshine days. I enjoy the longer days. You know, it's still bright and sunny out for another couple hours or so. So throw something on the grill on this Juneteenth and
I love it.
Think about Willie Mays and all the rest and smile. Well, and that's cool.
Thank your queen and your family. I apologize.
I will.
I've taken about 2.5 hours.
No worries. No worries.
But
anytime, brother.
If there's one person that we would do this for in baseball, it would be Willie Mays. So hey man, I love you, brother. Send my love to
back,
all
man.
your family. Happy Juneteenth day to you. And I gotta, because there's so much to talk about. So we'll talk after the show. I'm gonna leave you alone today. So I'm thanking you and I'm sending my love to you. But we're gonna talk in a couple days because it's so much.
Absolutely.
The NBA Finals and I want to grab you and everything else coming up. So
all right, man.
Thanks, brother.
Right. Thank you, man.
Thank you. That's Eric Clemens, y'all. That's my dude right there. And I want to thank everybody for hanging around. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you and especially you. God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno show. Say hi to my grandfather. Say hi to Conway Jones. Say hi to Gene Jones. And say hi to Say Hey Kid, Mr. Willie Mays. I come to you Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. You can always binge watch any of my back episodes. Just type in Geno Jones Show. Subscribe, share. I have a new subscription goal. 1,000 new subscribers in 60 days will allow me to go to the next level in terms of a content provider or someone who has a show. Because a lot of folks are doing podcasts and once a week they come on every other week. This show is live right here on YouTube, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And if you miss it, you can go to my channel and binge watch all my great back episodes with all my celebrities from Ronald Isley, Mr. Big and Ernie Isley, to Lettucey and Kenny Lattimore and Howard Hewitt and Roy Chip Anthony, new stars like October London, my man, lead singer for Ready for the World, Melvin Riley, Lenny Williams, so many. I can't even name all the great guests that I've had on the show. Senator Cory Booker. The Geno Jones Show is brought to you by CM Transportation, black-owned business, black woman-owned business. CEO, shout out to Miss Carissa Carter. It is one of the top, the leaders in transportation. If your business needs a transportation company, a ground transportation company that is dependable, reliable, and on time, one of the best in the country, CM like Mary, CM Transportation, LLC.net online. You can check them out right now, CM Transportation, LLC.net, or you can call them in the morning business hours here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro area, 843 area code 606-2702. 843 area code 606-2702. So tell everybody to subscribe, share, screen grab. They can copy and paste the link. You can email it. You can share it on whatever platform. You can tag it. You can text it. Put it, carry a pigeon, put a message in a bottle, and write down the address, as they call it, the URL link, just the link for the Geno Jones Show right here on YouTube. Tell everybody, all you big Juneteenth celebrations, all the family reunions and cookouts and parades and concerts and commemorations, tell everybody everywhere for this Juneteenth week as we build our black-owned media company. And we must have more black-owned media because, as Eric said, the narrative, which is the story, the media is always going to share the narrative or the story with you. That is what they're going to promote and project, the story that they want you to believe, not the true story. So that's why we need black-owned media. Shout out to Mr. Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show, CEO of Designer Cuts here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro. Check him out, black-owned business. One of the top, he's a master barber, one of the top barbers in America, really probably on the planet. Check him out and check out his work. It's Kel B Cutting Up on Instagram, IG, Kel B Cutting Up, KELBECUTTINUP. Allie Jones, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check out Allie Jones and her collection, her Lexi Jones collection, LX.NCL underscore is that little dash at the bottom behind the last L on Instagram or IG as they say. LX.NCL underscore. And Bruce Gage, also wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show. Mario Uomo, Miglio di Mario Uomo. The suit is by Miglio di Mario Uomo or Mario Uomo. It's an Italian name. MIGLIODIMARIOUOMO. Search that, or if you can't remember, search Bruce Gage, but just type in MIGLIODIMARIOUOMO. So the suit courtesy of Mario Uomo. And Flyball the store. Flyball is the official licensed Negro League baseball retailer, apparel, the only retailer that that's officially licensed by the Negro Baseball League. If you go to the Negro League Hall of Fame, Negro Baseball League Hall of Fame, Kansas City, you can get your Flyball gear, or you can go online. Flyball, that's how you spell it. Right there, you see it on my chest. Flyball the store. Flyball, THESTORE.com. I love everybody. Thank you for sticking around, Mother. I know you would. Shout out to my man, one of the greatest broadcasters and voice actors, radio personalities. Talking about one of the greatest of all time, Black Radio Hall of Fame, Mr. Rick Party. Thank you, Rick. I love you, brother. Check out Rick. Just, as they say, Google Rick Party, Black Radio Hall of Fame. If there's a voiceover Hall of Fame, he'll be on it. And some folks say, Geno, how come you ain't in the Black Radio Hall of Fame? I'm like Willie Mays. Hey, listen, I know how good I am still. So, and I say that in all humility. So it's all good. But Rick Party, definitely one of the true legends and icons. You know, the pantheon of great, definitely radio personalities and, you know, voice actors. I don't know which one is great as he still is on the radio. Some people can make an argument he may be even a greater voice actor. I'd say it's probably a tie. So shout out to you, Rick. Family, like I said, Rick is another person. The bond we have is as if we came out of the same womb. Rest in power to Mama Party. Thank you, Rick, for watching. Shout out to my mom who's watching and everybody else. The next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is coming on Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 in Chicago, 3:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Once again, subscribe, share, screen grab, copy and paste the link. Rick, do me a favor. I know you got 8 billion people, so help your brother get these 1,000 new subscribers in the next 60 days so I can go to this next YouTube level and get these YouTube checks. And everybody else, be sure to share the show, tag, text it, whatever you want to do, email it. Like I said, put it on a carrier pigeon, put it on your dog, your cat, wherever. Hell, tattoo it if you want to, even though I don't do needles like that. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. It was an honor to do this show on Juneteenth Day. Once again, it is, even though this day in 1865, all of our ancestors in America, all of our African American ancestors had been, the last group of our ancestors were told about their freedom in Texas 161 years ago today in 1865, even though they had been freed legally. Slavery legally ended 2.5 years before this day in 1865, in January 1st of 1863. But that goes to show you, as my mother say, how low down, and my grandmother would say how trifling people can be. So that's why it is up to us. Eric talked about a legacy. It's to make sure that we share these stories, that we pass the wisdom and knowledge and education, and that we are the wind beneath the wings to our sons and daughters and grandchildren and nieces and nephews and each other. And make sure that we share and tell our stories, because nobody is going to tell your story better than you. Because nobody can beat you being the best version of yourself. I love you guys. It was an honor to be able to do this show. Rest in power to Willie Howard Mays. Thank you for being everything that you represented to me. And thank you, Dad, for introducing me to Willie Mays. Probably next to you, the greatest man I knew next to my grandfather was Willie Howard Mays. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.